The stars looked peaceful through the window of the ship. Captain Taesung stood in the command room, watching the blue planet grow larger on the screen. This was Velcor Prime, home to the Velcoran Empire. He took a deep breath. This mission could change everything. We're approaching their space, said Commander Jinwoo from behind him. The security chief was a tall man with careful eyes. He never trusted easily. Their ships are surrounding us, Taesung nodded. Let them. We came here in peace. We have nothing to hide. Dr. Hana walked up beside them holding her data pad. She was the smartest person Taesung knew about alien species. I've studied their culture for months, she said quietly. They value strength above everything. They might see our peaceful approach as weakness. Then we'll show them that peace takes more strength than war, Taesung replied. The ship, named Harmony's Call, moved slowly toward the planet. It was not a warship. It carried no heavy weapons. Only a small crew of diplomats, scientists, and a basic security team. Earth's government had sent them to make friends, not enemies. Engineer Subin called from her station. Captain, they're sending docking instructions. They want us to land at their capital city. Good, Taesung said. Take us down. The planet's surface was beautiful and strange. Tall crystal towers reached into the purple sky. The Velcorans had built their cities from materials that grew from the ground itself. Everything sparkled in the sunlight. When the ship landed, Taesung led his team down the ramp. The air was warm and smelled like metal. Waiting for them was a group of Velcoran soldiers. They were impressive creatures, standing nearly 8 feet tall. Their bodies were covered in crystalline armor that seemed to be part of their skin. It glowed with inner light. At the front stood High Commander Velrix. He was the largest of them all, with dark purple crystals covering his body. His eyes were cold and bright like diamonds. Humans, Velrix said in perfect English. His voice was deep and hard. You have entered our space without permission. Explain yourselves. Taesung stepped forward and bowed slightly, a sign of respect. High Commander, we come with greetings from Earth. We wish to establish peaceful relations between our peoples. Velrix did not bow back. Peaceful relations? Your kind has spread through 12 systems that border our territory. You build colonies on worlds we might want. You act as if this galaxy belongs to you. The galaxy is large enough for all of us, Taesung said calmly. We don't want conflict. We want cooperation, trade, friendship. We can learn from each other. Velrix made a sound that might have been a laugh. Learn from you? What can soft creatures like humans teach the Velcoran Empire? We have conquered 50 star systems. We have defeated every species that challenged us. And now you come here weak and few talking about friendship? Dr. Hana stepped forward carefully. With respect, High Commander, humanity has much to offer. Our medical technology, our agricultural methods, our silence. Velrix's voice boomed across the landing platform. I did not give you permission to speak, female. Jinwoo's hand moved to his weapon, but Taesung shook his head slightly. Not yet, stay calm. High Commander, Taesung said, his voice still steady. We didn't come here to argue. We came to find a way forward together. Surely there is room for negotiation. Velrix stared at him for a long moment. Then he turned and walked toward a large building. Follow me. We will talk. The humans followed the Velcorans into a great hall. The ceiling was so high it seemed to touch the clouds. Hundreds of Velcoran officials sat on raised platforms, all watching the humans with hard eyes. Velrix sat on a throne made of black crystal. Here are my terms, human. You will give us 3 of your colony worlds. You will share all your technology with us. You will pay tribute to the Velcoran Empire every year. In return, we will allow your species to exist in this sector. Taesung felt his team tense behind him. These weren't terms for peace. This was a demand for surrender. Those terms are not acceptable, Taesung said clearly. We propose instead a mutual trade agreement. We can exchange resources that benefit both our peoples. We can establish embassies. We can create a treaty that respects both our territories. You dare refuse? Velrix stood up, his massive form towering over the room. Do you not understand your position? We could crush your colonies like insects. Your entire fleet is smaller than one of our battle groups. Perhaps, Taesung said, but crushing us would gain you nothing. Working with us would gain you everything. Velrix walked down from his throne, moving closer to Taesung. The human captain held his ground, though every instinct told him to step back. The alien commander stopped just inches away. I have defeated warriors from 100 worlds, Velrix said softly, dangerously. All of them were stronger than you. All of them had more pride than you. And all of them learned to kneel before the Velcoran Empire. What makes you think humans are any different? Taesung looked up into those diamond eyes. Because we're still standing here talking. Because we choose peace even when threatened. Because we know that real strength is not about who can hit the hardest, but about who can build something better. For a moment, the entire hall was silent. Then Velrix moved faster than Taesung could react. The alien's massive hand struck him across the face, sending the captain sprawling to the floor. Pain exploded through his jaw. He tasted blood. Jinwoo and his security team raised their weapons, but Velcoran soldiers surrounded them instantly. Dr. Hana and Subin rushed to help Taesung, but he waved them back. Slowly, painfully, he stood up. "I still offer you peace," Taesung said, his words slurred from his broken jaw. "Even now." Velrix looked at him with something that might have been surprise. Then his expression hardened again. "You have one rotation of this planet to leave our space. That is approximately 30 of your hours. After that, any human ship we find will be destroyed. Any human colony in our sector will be attacked. Go back to your weak leaders and tell them, the Velcoran Empire has spoken. Submit or die." He turned away, dismissing them completely. Jinwoo helped Taesung walk back to the ship. Dr. Hana pressed a medical pack against his swelling face. Subin prepared the ship for immediate departure. As they lifted off from Velcor Prime, Taesung looked back at the crystal towers one last time. He had come here hoping to make friends. Instead, he had found something more dangerous than enemies. He had found a species that believed might made right, that saw kindness as weakness. "Send a message to Earth," he said quietly. "Tell them we tried. Tell them the Velcorans have chosen war." "What do you think will happen now?" Hana asked. Taesung touched his broken jaw, wincing. "Now they'll learn what humans do when peace fails. They'll learn why you should never mistake mercy for weakness." The ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, leaving Velcor Prime behind. Behind them, High Commander Velrix celebrated what he thought was a victory. He had no idea what was coming. He had no idea what humanity was capable of when pushed too far. The medical bay of Beacon 7 station smelled like cleaning chemicals and medicine. Taesung sat on the examination table while a doctor worked on his jaw. The pain was terrible, but he refused any drugs that would make him sleepy. He needed to stay sharp. "It's broken in 2 places," the doctor said, scanning his face with a blue light. "I can fix it, but you'll need to rest for at least a week." "I don't have a week," Taesung said, though speaking hurt badly. "How soon can I talk normally? With a bone regenerator?" "Maybe 3 days. But Captain, you need 3 days is fine. Start the treatment." Jinwoo stood near the door, his arms crossed. He had been silent since they left Velcor Prime. Now he spoke, his voice low and angry. "We should have fought them, right there in that hall, and we all would have died," Taesung replied. "That's not brave. That's stupid. They insulted us. They struck you. Our captain." "Yes, and now Earth knows what kind of species the Velcorans are." Taesung touched his jaw gently. "Sometimes you have to take a hit to win the fight." Dr. Hana entered the medical bay carrying her data pad. Her face was pale. "I just sent our full report to Earth. Everything that happened. Every word Velrix said. The council is meeting now to decide our response." Subin came in behind her, looking worried. "The Velcorans are broadcasting messages to all human colonies in this sector. They're demanding surrender. They say we have 1 week to evacuate 3 colony worlds or they'll attack." "How many people live on those worlds?" Taesung asked. "Over 2 million. And they're not just asking for the planets. They want our technology too. Our ship designs, our weapons, everything." Jinwoo slammed his fist against the wall. "They won't stop. Even if we give them 3 worlds, they'll want more than more. Until there's nothing left," Taesung nodded slowly. "I know. That's why we won't give them anything." The room fell silent. Everyone understood what that meant. "War," Hana whispered. "They chose it, not us," Taesung said firmly. "We offered them peace. We offered them friendship." They spat in our faces, and alarms sounded through the station. Subin checked her datapad quickly. "Ships are arriving. Big ones, it's the Earth fleet." They rushed to the observation deck. Through the massive windows they watched as ships appeared from faster-than-light travel. First came the destroyers, sleek and fast. Then the battle carriers, huge vessels carrying hundreds of fighters. And finally the largest ship Taesung had ever seen. "That's the Indomitable," Jinwoo said, his voice filled with awe. "The Earth Defense Fleet's flagship. I thought it was still in construction. They finished it early, a new voice said. Everyone turned. A man in an admiral's uniform walked toward them. He was older, with gray hair and hard eyes that had seen many battles. His uniform showed more medals than Taesung could count. Admiral Dong Hyun, Taesung said, trying to bow but wincing from the pain. Don't, the admiral said, waving his hand. I saw your report, Captain. I saw what they did to you, and I saw how you still tried to make peace. He looked out at the fleet. Earth's council voted 3 hours ago. Unanimous decision. If the Velkorans want war, they'll get it. How many ships? Jin Woo asked. Here, 52 warships. Back on Earth and our major colonies. 300 more are being prepared. We can have 500 combat-ready vessels in this sector within a month. Dong Hyun turned to look at them. The Velkorans think they're strong because they've never fought anyone who fights back properly. They're about to learn a hard lesson. Dr. Hana stepped forward. Admiral, with respect, the Velkorans have over 300 warships. Their technology is advanced. Their warriors are trained from birth. Are we really ready for this? Dong Hyun smiled, but it was not a kind smile. Doctor, humans have been fighting wars since we lived in caves. We've fought with sticks, stones, swords, guns, tanks, and nuclear weapons. We've survived ice ages, plagues, and world wars. We almost destroyed ourselves a dozen times, but we always survived, always adapted, always became stronger. He pointed at the fleet. These ships, they represent 5,000 years of human military evolution. The Velkorans are about to find out what that means. An officer approached the admiral. Sir, we're receiving a message from Velkor Prime. High Commander Velrix wants to speak with you. Put him on screen. Here, I want everyone to see this. A large screen activated, showing Velrix's face. The alien commander looked pleased with himself. So Earth sends its warriors now? Good. Perhaps you humans are not completely without spine. High Commander, Dong Hyun said coldly. This is your final chance. Withdraw your demands. Leave our colonies alone. We can still avoid bloodshed. Velrix laughed, a harsh sound. You think you can threaten me? I have already sent my fleets to 3 of your colony worlds. By tomorrow, they will belong to the Velkoran Empire. Your people there will kneel or die. You're making a mistake, Dong Hyun said. The only mistake was letting your kind into our sector of space. But we will correct that error. Your colonies will fall, your ships will burn, and your Earth will learn what happens when insects challenge giants. Velrix leaned closer to the camera. I defeated your diplomat with 1 blow. Imagine what my warriors will do to your soldiers. Taesung stepped forward, his jaw still swollen but his voice clear. You hit me because I wasn't fighting back. I came in peace. But these people behind me? He gestured to Admiral Dong Hyun and his officers. They're not diplomats. They're warriors. And they're very good at what they do. Velrix's eyes narrowed. You should have stayed down, little human. Now you'll watch your colonies burn. The screen went dark. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Admiral Dong Hyun turned to his communications officer. Send orders to all fleet commanders. Battle formation Alpha 7. We're going to New Incheon. That's the first colony Velrix mentioned, Jin Woo said. He's probably already attacking. I know. That's why we're going there. Dong Hyun looked at Taesung. Captain, you and your team will come with us on the Indomitable. You started this mission. You should see how it ends. Ends, sir? The Velkorans wanted war, so we'll give them a war, but we'll fight it the human way, fast, smart, and absolutely without mercy. The Admiral's voice was steel. They think they know what warriors are. They're about to learn the difference between soldiers who fight for glory and humans who fight for survival. Taesung felt something shift inside him. The diplomat was gone. The man who had tried so hard to make peace was stepping back. In his place was something older, something that had always been part of humanity. The will to survive, the determination to protect what was theirs. When do we leave? He asked. Now, Dong Hyun said. The Velkoran fleet is 6 hours ahead of us, but our ships are faster. We'll arrive at New Incheon at the same time they do, and then, he smiled that cold smile again, then we teach them lesson 1, never underestimate humans. The crew rushed to their stations. Ships began moving into formation. The entire fleet turned toward New Incheon, where 50,000 human colonists waited, not knowing that 2 massive fleets were racing toward their world. Hana stood beside Taesung as they watched the fleet prepare. Are we doing the right thing? She asked quietly. Taesung touched his broken jaw again. We tried peace. They chose violence. Now we protect our people. Yes, we're doing the right thing. I'm scared, she admitted. Good, Jinwoo said, joining them. Fear keeps you alive. But don't worry. We're humans. This is what we do best. We survive. The Indomitable's engines roared to life. Around it, 52 warships did the same. As one, they jumped to faster than light speed, leaving Beacon 7 behind. Ahead of them, New Incheon waited. And coming from the other direction, the Velcoran armada approached, confident in their strength, certain of their victory. They had no idea what was about to hit them. The colony world of New Incheon was beautiful from space. Green forests covered most of the land with blue oceans between. Small cities dotted the surface, home to 50,000 people who had come here to build new lives. Now, danger was coming. On the surface, alarms were ringing. Governor Yuna stood in the emergency command center, coordinating the evacuation. She was young for a governor, but she was smart and quick. All civilians to the underground shelters, she ordered. I want everyone below ground in 2 hours. No exceptions. Governor, what about the farms? The factories? An aide asked. Leave them. Buildings can be rebuilt. People can't. She looked at the tactical display. How long until the Velcoran fleet arrives? 4 hours. They're coming with over 100 warships. Someone in the room whispered a prayer. 100 warships against their 12 defense platforms. It was impossible odds. And our fleet? Yuna asked. Admiral Dong Hyun's force is coming too. They'll arrive at about the same time. Then we just need to survive until they get here. Yuna looked at her people. We knew this day might come. That's why we built the shelters. That's why every colony has defenses. Earth remembers its history. We prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Deep underground, families rushed into the massive shelters. These bunkers could survive almost anything. Nuclear strikes, orbital bombardment. They had enough food and water for months. The children were scared, but the adults tried to stay calm. Above ground, the defense platforms powered up their weapons. Each platform was basically a small space station covered in guns and missiles. The operators knew they probably wouldn't survive the battle, but they would buy time for the civilians below. That was enough. In orbit, space was quiet. Then, like a storm appearing from nowhere, the Velcoran fleet arrived. 117 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, surrounding the planet. High Commander Velrix sat on his command throne aboard his flagship, the Crystal Hammer. He looked at the tiny human defense platforms and laughed. This is what they send against us? 12 small stations. He turned to his weapons officer. Destroy them all. Make it quick. The Velcoran warships moved forward, their weapons charging with deadly light. The crystalline hulls of their ships reflected the planet's sun, creating a beautiful and terrible sight. Then Admiral Dong Hyun's fleet arrived. 52 human warships appeared in a different formation than the Velcorans expected. They didn't come straight at the enemy. Instead, they appeared behind 3 large moons, using the gravity wells to mask their approach until the last moment. All ships, weapons free, Dong Hyun ordered from the Indomitable's command bridge. Show them what we can do. What happened next shocked the Velcorans completely. Human destroyers were fast, much faster than Velcoran ships. They darted between the enemy vessels like fish in water. Their weapons were different too. Instead of energy beams, they fired solid metal slugs accelerated to incredible speeds. These railgun rounds hit with the force of small bombs. 3 Velcoran ships exploded in the first 30 seconds. What is this? Velrix shouted. How are they so fast? His tactical officer looked confused. Their engines are more efficient than our predictions, Commander. And their weapons. They're using kinetic energy, not plasma. Our shields aren't configured for that kind of impact. Reconfigure them. Now, but the human ships didn't give them time. Battle carriers launched hundreds of small fighters that swarmed around the larger Velcoran vessels. The fighters were piloted by AI, computers that could react faster than any living being. They targeted weak points in the alien ship's armor, engines, and weapon systems. Commander Jinwoo watched from the Indomitable with satisfaction. They expected us to fight like they do. Stand still and trade shots. They have no idea how to deal with mobile warfare. Taesung stood beside him, his jaw still hurting but healing. Earth's military learned from thousands of years of naval combat. We know how to use speed and tactics against bigger enemies. Incoming missiles, someone shouted. The Velcoran fleet had finally started to fight back. Hundreds of missiles streaked through space toward the human ships. But Engineer Subin had been busy. From her station on the Indomitable, she had been working on the Velcoran communication network, hacking into their systems. "Countermeasures active," she said calmly, pressing buttons quickly. And now, half of the Velcoran missiles suddenly changed direction, targeting their own ships. The aliens had never encrypted their guidance systems properly. They never thought anyone could hack them mid-flight. More Velcoran ships exploded, destroyed by their own weapons. "This is impossible," Velrix roared. "We outnumber them more than 2-1. Commander, they're using tactics we've never encountered. Our ships are too slow. Our formation is too rigid. They're everywhere at once." Dr. Hanna watched the battle from the observation deck, analyzing everything. "The Velcorans fight like ancient armies," she said to herself. "Lines of soldiers marching forward. But humans learned to adapt. We learned guerrilla warfare, blitzkrieg, carrier tactics, missile defense. We learned from every war we ever fought." The battle raged for hours. The human fleet was outnumbered, but they were winning. Every ship worked together perfectly, like a single living thing. When one destroyer took damage, another covered it. When fighters ran low on ammunition, they returned to carriers to reload while fresh fighters took their place. The Velcoran fleet, used to overwhelming enemies with numbers, had no answer for this kind of coordination. Then Admiral Dong Hyun played his final card. "Deploy the EMP warheads," he ordered. "Sir?" An officer asked. "We've never tested those in actual combat. First time for everything. Fire." The Indomitable launched 20 special missiles. They moved slower than regular missiles, and the Velcorans thought they were easy targets. Their point defense systems destroyed 10 of them, but 10 got through, spreading out across the Velcoran formation. When they detonated, they didn't explode like normal missiles. Instead, they released a massive electromagnetic pulse. Every electronic system in a huge area shut down instantly. 50 Velcoran ships went dark, floating helplessly in space. "Boarding teams, go!" Jinwoo ordered. Small human ships carrying marines in armored suits flew to the disabled vessels. They cut through the hulls and entered, moving fast through the dark corridors. The Velcoran warriors inside tried to fight, but they were confused and disorganized in the darkness. The human marines had night vision, perfect coordination, and years of training in ship-to-ship combat. Within an hour, 12 Velcoran ships had been captured. On the planet's surface, Governor Yuna watched the battle through the shelter's monitors. When she saw the human fleet winning, she allowed herself to cry with relief. Her people were safe. High Commander Velrix watched his fleet fall apart around him. This wasn't possible. The Velcorans had never lost a battle. Never. And now these soft humans were tearing through his warriors like they were nothing. "Retreat," he finally ordered. "All ships, retreat." What was left of his fleet, less than 50 ships now, turned and ran. They jumped to faster than light speed, leaving behind their dead and captured. Admiral Dong Hyun didn't pursue them. "Let them go," he said. "Let them tell their leaders what happened here." The battle was over. The human fleet had lost 3 destroyers and 1 carrier. 73 crew members had died, but they had destroyed 67 Velcoran ships and captured 12 more. It was an overwhelming victory. Tae-sung looked at the tactical display, seeing all the destroyed ships. "So much death. Was it worth it?" he asked quietly. Jinwoo put a hand on his shoulder. "We saved 50,000 people. Yes, it was worth it." Admiral Dong Hyun spoke to the entire fleet. "Well done, everyone. But this is just the beginning. The Velcorans know we can fight now. They'll come back with more ships better prepared. We need to be ready." On the surface of New Incheon, people emerged from the shelters. The sky above was clear and blue. The battle had happened in orbit far above them. Their world was safe. Children played in the grass, not understanding how close they had come to danger. Governor Yuna stood in the sunlight, looking up at the sky. Somewhere up there, human warriors had fought and bled to protect her people. She made a silent promise. New Incheon would not forget. They would rebuild stronger. They would be ready if the enemy came again. Aboard his fleeing flagship, High Commander Velrix sat in darkness. His pride was shattered. His fleet was broken. For the first time in his life, he had tasted defeat. "Send a message to the Empire," he said quietly. Tell them we need reinforcements. Many reinforcements." "How many, Commander?" Velrix looked at the stars with new fear in his eyes. "All of them. We need all of them. These humans, they're not like the others we've conquered. They're dangerous. They're warriors, real warriors. Back on the indomitable, Tae-sung walked through the medical bay, visiting the wounded. These people had fought for humanity. Some would never walk again. Some would carry scars forever. He shook their hands, thanked them, and made sure they knew their sacrifice mattered. Dr. Hana found him there late at night. "Your jaw is fully healed," she said. "How do you feel?" "Better, stronger." He touched where Velrix had struck him. He thought hitting me would break my spirit. Instead, it just showed me what we're really dealing with. 3 months passed after the Battle of New Incheon. 3 months that changed everything. The Velcoran Empire was angry and scared. They called upon every vassal species they controlled. Thousands of ships from dozens of conquered worlds gathered under the Velcoran banner. High Commander Velrix commanded the largest fleet in the Empire's history. Over 1,000 warships. But Earth was not idle. Admiral Dong Hyun stood in the command center on Earth's orbital station, watching screens that showed ship construction across 100 human worlds. Shipyards that once built trading vessels now built warships. Factories that made consumer goods now made weapons. Every human colony, every space station, every asteroid mining facility contributed to the war effort. "How many ships do we have now?" he asked his aide. 400 combat-ready vessels, sir. Another 200 will be finished within a month." Dong Hyun nodded. "The Velcorans have numbers, but we have something better. We have people who know how to learn." And humanity was learning fast. Engineer Subin led a team that studied the captured Velcoran ships. They took apart every system, analyzed every component. Within weeks, they understood how Velcoran shields worked. Within a month, they built weapons designed specifically to penetrate those shields. Dr. Hana made an important discovery. The Velcorans' crystalline bodies, which seemed so strong, had a weakness. Certain sound frequencies caused the crystals to vibrate and crack. The human military developed sonic weapons based on her research. When tested on Velcoran prisoners, the results were effective. The aliens couldn't fight when their own bodies were shaking apart. "I feel bad about this," Hana admitted to Tae-sung, "using biology as a weapon." "They made the choice to fight," Tae-sung reminded her. "We're just adapting. That's what humans do best." The war spread across the sector. Battle after battle, humans and Velcorans clashed. And slowly, patterns emerged. Lieutenant Jamin commanded a squadron of stealth frigates. These small ships could hide from sensors by staying cold and quiet. They lurked in asteroid fields and behind planets, waiting. When Velcoran supply convoys passed by, Jamin's ships struck fast and disappeared. The Velcorans never knew where the attacks would come from. "Supplies are the backbone of any military," Jamin explained to his crew. "The Velcorans have a huge fleet, but they need fuel, ammunition, and food. Every convoy we destroy makes their fleet weaker." Captain Yuna, promoted from governor after her heroism at New Incheon, commanded the carrier group Dragon's Breath. She pioneered new tactics using thousands of AI-controlled drones. These small machines were cheap to build and fearless in battle. They swarmed around enemy ships, overwhelming defense systems with sheer numbers. "The Velcorans honor individual combat," Yuna told her crew. "One warrior against one warrior. But we fight smart. We use machines where we can. We risk human lives only when necessary." Commander Hyunsik specialized in guerrilla warfare in space. His ships used debris fields, planetary rings, and nebulas to hide in ambush. He studied the Velcorans' battle tactics and found them predictable. They always formed the same formations, always attacked the same way. "They're like chess players who only know one opening," Hyunsik said. "Once you know their moves, they're easy to beat." But the war wasn't easy. Humans died. Ships were destroyed. Colonies were damaged. The Velcorans, despite their losses, were still dangerous. Their warriors were brave, their weapons powerful, their determination strong. The difference was that humans adapted. After every battle, the military studied what worked and what didn't. Engineers improved ship designs. Tacticians developed new strategies. Medical teams found better ways to treat injuries. The Velcorans fought the same way they always had. And slowly, inevitably, they started losing. A major turning point came at the Battle of Sigma Station. The Velcorans attacked with 300 ships trying to destroy a major human supply base. Commander Jinwoo led the defense with only 80 vessels. The Velcorans expected an easy victory. Instead, they found themselves trapped. Jinwoo had spent weeks preparing the battlefield. The space around Sigma Station was filled with mines that looked like ordinary debris. Hidden missile platforms floated silently, waiting. Even the station itself was a weapon, covered in powerful railguns. When the Velcoran fleet arrived, Jinwu let them get close. Then he sprung the trap. "Fire everything," he ordered calmly. The Velcoran fleet was caught in a killing zone. Mines exploded, destroying dozens of ships. Missile platforms launched their entire payload at once, overwhelming shields and defenses. The station's railguns fired continuously, each shot hitting with deadly accuracy. The Velcorans tried to retreat, but they were surrounded. Jinwu's ships had been waiting on the other side, hidden behind a nearby planet. They attacked from behind, trapping the enemy completely. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the Velcoran fleet was destroyed. Only 30 ships escaped. The humans lost 12 vessels. News of the victory spread across human space. People celebrated in the streets. But in the military, everyone knew this was just one battle in a longer war. Something else was happening too. The species that the Velcorans had conquered were watching. They saw the mighty Velcoran Empire struggling against humanity. They saw that it was possible to resist, to fight back. A delegation arrived at Earth from a species called the Relan. They were small, peaceful creatures who had lived under Velcoran control for decades. "We want to help you," their leader said to Admiral Donghyun. "The Velcorans conquered our world. They took our resources. They treated us like slaves. If you can defeat them, we will be free." "We're not fighting for conquest," Donghyun explained. "We're fighting because they attacked us. We know. That's why we trust you. The Velcorans fight for glory and power. You fight for survival and freedom. If you win, you will free many species." More delegations came. Some offered intelligence about Velcoran positions. Some offered resources. A few even offered ships and warriors to join the human fleet. The Velcoran Empire was cracking, not just militarily but politically. High Commander Velrix watched his empire crumble. More defeats. More losses. Species that had been loyal for centuries were now openly questioning Velcoran authority. Some were even rebelling. "How is this possible?" he asked his advisors. "We have more ships, more warriors. How are we losing?" An old military advisor spoke carefully. "Commander, the humans fight differently than anyone we've faced. They don't care about honor or glory. They care about winning. They use tricks, traps, and tactics we consider dishonorable. Then we adapt," Velrix shouted. "We learn their ways. It's not that simple, Commander. Their entire species is built on warfare and survival. They've been fighting for thousands of years. Against each other, against their environment, against everything. Fighting is in their nature. For us, war is about proving strength. For them, war is about staying alive." Velrix realized the terrible truth. He had started a war with a species that was better at war than his own. The Velcorans were warriors, yes, but they followed rules and traditions. Humans didn't care about rules. They cared about winning. A desperate plan formed in his mind. "Gather every ship we have left. Every warrior. Every ally. We attack Earth itself. We cut off the head of the snake. Commander, Earth's defenses are— I don't care. We strike at their home. We force them to surrender or we die trying. This is our only chance." Across Velcoran space, the call went out. Every available ship was summoned. The Velcoran Empire assembled its last great fleet. 300 warships, the survivors of dozens of battles. It wasn't as many as Velrix wanted, but it would have to be enough. On Earth, human intelligence detected the gathering fleet. Admiral Donghyun called an emergency meeting with all fleet commanders. Tai-sung attended the meeting, now serving as a strategic advisor. His experience with the Velcorans made him valuable. "They're coming here," he said, studying the reports. "Velrix is betting everything on one massive attack." "Let them come," Donghyun said with confidence. "Earth is the most heavily defended world in human space. We have 200 ships here that never left home. We have orbital defense platforms. We have ground-based missile systems. And we have something else. We're fighting for our home." He looked around the room at the faces of humanity's defenders. "Velrix thinks he can scare us by threatening Earth. He doesn't understand that threatening our home is the worst mistake he could make. Because humans fight hardest when they're defending what they love." Preparations began immediately. Every ship was checked and ready. Every weapon was loaded. Every soldier prepared for the battle of their lives. Dr. Hana worked day and night, preparing medical facilities for the wounded that would surely come. Subin checked every defense system, making sure nothing would fail. Jinwu trained every security team, every marine, every pilot. and Tai Sung stood at the window of the orbital station, looking down at Earth. The blue planet that had given birth to humanity. The world that had survived ice ages, asteroid impacts, wars, and plagues. The home that had sent its children to the stars. "They're coming to the wrong place," he said quietly. "This is where humanity began. This is where we're strongest." Velrix is about to learn the hardest lesson of all. "What lesson is that?" Hana asked, joining him at the window. Taesung smiled grimly. "Never threaten a human's home." The Velcoran fleet arrived at Earth like a storm of crystal and fire. 300 warships appeared in orbit, surrounding the blue planet. On his flagship, High Commander Velrix looked down at the world below with hatred and fear mixed together. "This is where they come from," he said quietly. "This is the home of humanity." The planet looked peaceful. White clouds drifted over blue oceans. Green and brown continents sat beneath. It seemed impossible that such a soft, wet world could produce warriors strong enough to challenge his empire. "Commander, we're detecting defensive positions," his tactical officer reported. "Orbital platforms, hidden weapons arrays, and ships. Many ships." The sensors showed the truth. Earth was protected by a web of defenses that made any other human colony look undefended. Hundreds of weapons platforms hung in orbit, each one capable of destroying a warship. Ground-based missile systems covered every continent, and waiting among it all was the Earth Defense Fleet, 200 warships that had never left home. They were waiting for us, Velrix realized. They knew we would come. Admiral Donghyun broadcast a message from his flagship, the Indomitable. His voice was calm and clear. "High Commander Velrix, this is your final opportunity. Surrender now. Order your fleet to stand down. We will accept your surrender with honor and dignity. No more blood needs to be spilled today." Velrix felt rage burn through him. Surrender? After everything? After all the defeats, all the shame, he was supposed to simply give up? "Never," he transmitted back. "You forced us into this war, human. Now you will pay the price. We will destroy your world. We will end your species. The Velcoran Empire will survive and humanity will be forgotten." "So be it," Donghyun replied. "You had your chance." Velrix raised his hand. "All ships attack! Show these creatures what it means to challenge the Velcoran Empire." The battle began. 300 Velcoran warships charged toward Earth, weapons blazing with deadly light. But they immediately ran into the first layer of defense. The orbital platforms opened fire, their railguns launching solid metal at incredible speeds. The Velcorans had learned to defend against these weapons, but there were so many platforms firing so many rounds that shields began to fail. Velcoran ships exploded, but more pushed through. They reached the second defensive layer, the minefields. Thousands of small explosives hidden among orbital debris detonated. More ships were damaged or destroyed, but the Velcorans pressed on. They had come too far to retreat now. They broke through the mines and engaged the human fleet directly. The Battle of Earth was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. Ships fought in orbit while ground-based weapons fired upward, and orbital platforms fired in all directions. Space itself seemed to burn with the intensity of the combat. Commander Jin Woo led boarding teams that captured damaged Velcoran ships, turning their weapons against their former owners. Captain Yuna's drone carriers released clouds of AI fighters that swarmed like angry insects. Lieutenant Jae-min's stealth frigates appeared from nowhere, struck hard and vanished again. On the ground, billions of humans watched the battle through screens and telescopes. They saw their defenders fighting in the sky above. Children held their parents' hands. Old people remembered other wars, other battles. Everyone understood. If the fleet failed, the Velcorans would bombard their world from orbit. But the fleet did not fail. The battle raged for 3 days. Not 3 hours, 3 full days of continuous combat. The Velcorans fought with desperate courage. Human defenders fought with absolute determination. Ships crashed into each other. Weapons platforms were destroyed. Debris filled the orbital space, making navigation dangerous. Engineer Subin worked without sleep, coordinating defense systems and hacking enemy communications. Dr. Hana treated wounded in medical stations that never stopped receiving casualties. Every human in the system contributed somehow, whether fighting, healing, or simply praying. On the 3rd day, High Commander Velrix's flagship took a direct hit from the Indomitable's main cannon. The crystal hammer shuddered, its shields collapsing. Emergency alarms screamed through the ship. "All power to engines," Velrix ordered. "We retreat," and another hit. The flagship's engines exploded. The massive ship went dark, floating helplessly in space. Boarding teams incoming, someone reported. Jinwoo led the assault personally. His Marines cut through the hull and entered the dying ship. The Velcoran warriors inside fought hard, but they were tired, scared, and leaderless. Within an hour, the Marines reached the command bridge. Velric stood alone, his crystalline armor cracked and bleeding strange blue fluid. He held a weapon, but he didn't raise it. Around him, his crew surrendered or lay wounded. "It's over," Jinwoo said, his weapon pointed at the alien commander. "Surrender and you'll be treated fairly." Velrix looked at him with broken pride. "You were supposed to be weak, soft, easily conquered." "We tried to be your friends," Jinwoo replied. "You mistook that for weakness." "Big mistake." Velrix dropped his weapon. "I surrender." With their commander captured and their fleet in ruins, the remaining Velcoran ships stopped fighting. One by one, they powered down their weapons. The battle was over. Admiral Dong-hyun surveyed the aftermath. The human fleet had lost 47 ships. Thousands of crew members had died. Dozens of defense platforms were destroyed. But Earth was safe. The Velcoran invasion had failed completely. "Send word to all human colonies," he ordered. "The war is over. We won." Across human space, people celebrated. On Earth, crowds gathered in the streets, crying and cheering. The children who had been born during the war would now grow up in peace. But there was still work to do. Tae-sung met with High Commander Velrix in a holding cell on the Indomitable. The alien looked smaller now without his armor and power. His crystalline skin was dull, no longer glowing with inner light. "You came to my world offering peace," Velrix said quietly. "I struck you. I humiliated you. I should have listened." "Yes, you should have," Tae-sung agreed. "But you thought we were weak because we chose diplomacy first. You're not the first to make that mistake. You probably won't be the last. What will you do with us now? Enslave us? Destroy our world?" Tae-sung sat down across from him. "No, we're going to offer you peace again, real peace this time." Velrix looked confused. "After everything we did? After all the battles, all the deaths? We didn't fight this war to destroy you," Tae-sung explained. "We fought to protect ourselves. Now that you're not a threat anymore, there's no reason for more violence. We'll help rebuild your fleet, smaller, for defense only. We'll establish trade. We'll free the species you enslaved. And we'll treat you as equals, not as conquered enemies." "Why?" Velrix asked, genuinely not understanding. "We tried to exterminate you." "Because that's who we are," Tae-sung said simply. "We fight when we have to. We fight hard. But when the war ends, we try to build something better. That's the human way." A month later, aboard the Indomitable, a treaty was signed. The Velcoran Empire agreed to release all vassal species, reduce their military to defensive forces only, and open trade with humanity and other free species. In return, humans would help rebuild Velcoran worlds damaged in the war and establish diplomatic relations. Dr. Hana helped set up cultural exchange programs. Former enemies began learning about each other, really learning, not just studying how to fight. Young Velcorans came to Earth to study at universities. Human scientists visited Velcor Prime to share research. Commander Jinwoo was assigned to train a joint human-Velcoran security force. Teaching former enemies to work together was hard, but slowly trust began to form. Engineer Subin collaborated with Velcoran engineers on new technologies. Together, they developed better life support systems, faster engines, and more efficient power sources. Technology that would help everyone, not just warriors. 5 years after the war ended, Captain Tae-sung, now Ambassador Tae-sung, stood on an observation deck of Earth's orbital station. He was older now, with gray in his hair, but his eyes were still sharp, still watching. Admiral Dong-hyun joined him carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Thinking about old times?" he asked. "Remembering," Tae-sung said, accepting the coffee. "Remembering what it took to get here." Below them, Earth turned peacefully. Above them, stars shined. Among those stars, humans and Velcorans and dozens of other species lived and worked together. Not perfectly. There were still arguments, still problems. But they were talking now, not fighting. "Do you think the peace will last?" Dong-hyun asked. "As long as they remember what happened when they chose war," Tae-sung replied. "The galaxy learned an important lesson. Humanity prefers peace. We'll always try diplomacy first. We'll always extend a hand in friendship." "But," Dong-hyun prompted, But if you force us to fight, we'll show you why we survived ice ages and plagues and 1,000 wars among ourselves. We'll show you why threatening our home is the last mistake you'll ever make." Taesung smiled slightly. "Peace is always our first choice. But we're really, really good at war, too." On Velcor Prime, in a garden of crystal flowers, former High Commander Velrix walked slowly. He was old now, retired from military service. Young Velkrans often asked him about the war with humanity. What were they like? They would ask. "The humans you fought?" Velrix would pause, remembering. "They were terrifying," he would say honestly. "Not because they were cruel. Not because they were strong.